Hi guys and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Lomachenko's favourite member of his fan club, Naota. How's it going, Naota?
Not bad, man.
I need to apologise to people in the chat. I know the show is a bit late going live. Windows had an update as usual. It was a big one and it just messed all my settings up. So I was just trying to figure out how I could get the show as usual. I've not done it exactly the way I usually do, but it seems like it's working. So we'll just go ahead with it. If I have any issues, people in Mixler just send me a message and I'll try and fix it. If not, we'll try and go live another day. But Naota,
send Microsoft an email saying "fuck you."
Yeah, do that definitely. But Naota, let's get into the big boxing news. Amir Khan split with his wife. Let's do a deep 3-hour analysis into why his marriage collapsed.
Yes. I mean, hey, sometimes good things come to an end. I'm not sure if that was necessarily the best thing, but it happens. That's how it goes down sometimes when you're Skyping people in full frontal. It's a very dangerous game to play.
It is indeed. But yeah, all jokes aside, let's get into Lomachenko Marriaga. Naota, you kind of give him slight props in your initial viewing of the fight on Saturday, and I kind of questioned it, thinking someone's took your phone or something, because you cannot be giving Lomachenko props. But then you kind of went back to your usual self today, and you kind of dug out some stuff you weren't happy with. I disagreed, but where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, I would just kind of start with, I guess, where I was impressed with what Lomachenko did. Incidentally, like you mentioned before, the first couple of rounds, I thought he was kind of slow to start up. I thought that Marriaga pretty much took the first two rounds, particularly the first. But once Lomachenko kind of got going in the third, and especially once it got to the fifth round, it was pretty much all Lomachenko. And kind of funny enough, there's something that I had talked about with him in the past, and actually even in my preview leading up into this fight, I was saying that a lot of the tricks of the trade that he kind of utilizes, kind of breaking some of the rules of technical boxing, of orthodox standard boxing. I felt like he wasn't going to be able to do that once he fought another high level opponent, once he fought another guy that was basically unwilling to kind of let him get away with it. And to a certain degree, I think that Marriaga kept him from doing that. I do think that Marriaga was able to kind of keep him on his P's and Q's. And incidentally, I actually was more impressed with this win from Lomachenko than pretty much any other win that he's had, including the Gary Russell win, simply because of the fact that he was utilizing more orthodox techniques for the most part. The only time where he tried to get kind of cocky and tricky or whatever was when he put himself into that corner after the first knockdown, and he ate a bunch of flush shots maybe not flush shots, but he ate a bunch of shots from Marriaga and didn't land anything in return. And then the second part was when he kind of did a little bit of a stance switch and kind of lunged forward, and that wound up being in part the cause of the head clash that wound up opening up the cut under his left eye. And so in a way, he kind of paid for it. And it showed that, against a guy in Marriaga who was at the very least somewhat game, that he wasn't going to be able to get away with all that bullshit trickery or whatever. But he adjusted in fine fashion. He started sticking that jab out and then would throw the body shots behind it. And eventually that's pretty much what led to the stoppage. He basically just took whatever issue of conditioning that Marriaga may have had and, exploited it to the nth degree, and caused it so that his corner wound up stopping it after the seventh round, before the eighth, because of the fact that it looked like Marriaga pretty much just didn't have anything left. You could see him suck and wind like crazy in the corner after that second knockdown in the eighth round, which was a bit more of a clean knockdown, and I think largely via accumulation. Marriaga was dead ass tired. He had been kind of pushed on the back foot, and incidentally, that was actually another thing I wanted to mention too that I thought Lomachenko did really well, is the fact that from the opening bell, even if I didn't think that he was winning those first couple of rounds, he was pushing Marriaga backwards. So Marriaga was never able to get full leverage, full weight, full power on any of the shots that he landed. So it kind of reminded me of Kelly Pavlik back when he fought Edison Miranda. Miranda was a huge knockout artist going into that fight, and he proved to be still after that fight. Even though Marriaga was coming up in weight, still, that power isn't the type of power that doesn't just transcend a few pounds. You know what I mean? He lands hard regardless of how much you weigh. Going back to, remember when Yayo Thompson fought Canelo's brother. You know what I mean? He was a smaller guy, but he still had that power that to, at least keep him honest. But here, Lomachenko basically pushed him on the back foot constantly, applied smart pressure, effective pressure, kind of technical boxing pressure. Not unlike what, say, like a Terrence Crawford would do. Crawford even kind of complimented him, saying, "Oh, he used one of my moves." And he did a solid job of knocking or stopping Marriaga in the 8th round, or before the 8th round rather. So I definitely give him credit for that. Just like I said, I would, going into that. But I guess maybe if I'm sounding not overly critical, basically just the first couple of rounds is where I thought he was losing and he wasn't winning. He wasn't really landing punches or really throwing very many punches. He missed a lot of the power shots. But see, that adjustment is where I do give him props once more, because he was missing when he was leading with the power shots in the first couple of rounds. But once he started sticking behind that jab towards the end of the second, that's when he started to kind of, get his dues and basically kind of set up the consistent work, the consistent body work, the head work as well. And I guess just the mental exhaustion that it caused Marriaga, and basically took the fight out of him for the most part, even though it was definitely there. Early on. I do kind of wonder possibly if Marriaga may not have necessarily had the best conditioning for this fight, being that 130 is an easy weight for him to make. He wouldn't have had to press himself as much to make 130 as opposed to 126. And I mean, he was legitimately a smaller man moving up. But I mean, regardless of that, Valdez was the mandatory for Lomachenko before Lomachenko moved up. And Marriaga gave Valdez absolute hell. So, you definitely got to give Lomachenko credit for kind of pretty handily defeating an opponent that had heretofore, shown himself to be a very difficult opponent for Valdez, for Walters, and, had been knocking out some other kind of high-level prospects that were looking to kind of get their title shots. He knocked them out of the way, basically. So you definitely got to give him credit for that.
Nice to hear you give Lomo a bit of credit, but yeah, I don't want to go too deep into our disagreements. I'll just give my opinion in the first 2 rounds. I thought Lomo won him. Yeah, he wasn't landing as clean, but Marriaga was really disappointing for me. Last week I was waxing lyrical about how much heart he showed against Valdez. He throws so many punches. He does little half steps forward that he does just to keep in range of his opponent, and he did none of that. He just set out from the start. He was just so negative on the back foot. Yeah, the only positive I can really give is, defensively, his bobbing and weaving was pretty good. He made Loma miss quite a bit at times, but he was just so negative, and because he was going backwards and because he was bobbing and weaving, his balance wasn't that great, and that kind of led to that first knockdown, maybe, where, he's kind of like, especially the second one, because he's trying to go backwards, bob and weave at the same time. If you get hit with even a half type of shot that you block, you're still going to go down because your feet are not really in the right position.
You can tell he's not used to having to go backwards.
Exactly.
And that's why I give Lomachenko credit for doing that, because I guess maybe they were thinking, this guy's not used to going backwards. Let's see what happens when we push him back, and it turned out to pay off really nicely.
No, it was, and yeah, the first few for me, I just thought that with Loma, he just looked like the boss. We kind of talked about it a few weeks ago when Rigger down for Flores.
He looked very strong in there. He looked like he was kind of moving Marriaga around a little bit. I think the talk of him possibly moving up to lightweight, I think he's been doing some bulking, making some gains, as Kimo would say.
No, he is, because the size difference in there was crazy, man. I know Marriaga was going up, but Loma looked like a full-fledged 130 pounder, like almost like he's ready to go to 35 next.
I was gonna say he looked 2 weight classes above Marriaga as opposed to 1.
Yeah, but disappointed Marriaga. Loma, as usual. I think we didn't see some of those side steps as much, just because his opponent was in front of him. He didn't need to. It's not like he was on the back foot and just trying to make him miss and make him pay. He was right in front of him, so it was quite easy for him to do his work. That's bad. The only thing I didn't really like is the tapping on the head. Crawford did it against Diaz, and I think it's a bit disrespectful, man. It's like, well,
not only is it disrespectful, but it's also illegal. Like, he was like hitting him on the back of the head. I mean, it's sure, he's just tapping him or whatever, but you never know if somebody could be hurt or have some sort of issue, like towards the actual occiput where their brainstem is, and you don't want to mess around with shit like that. So
and that's all I really got to say. There's not really much to say apart from that. It was a kind of one-sided fight. I know your time.
I guess the one other thing you could say that maybe he did a little bit dirty was there was a lot of times where he would hit Marriaga in the kidney, like on the left side, when he would throw that right hook like around on his back.
Yeah, but Marriaga was giving him the angle. That's the issue. It's like if you're turning your back to that side so much.
Somewhat. I think on some occasions he was, and I think on others Lomachenko kind of did it himself. So
yeah,
it is what it is, though. You know, I mean, like a lot of times punches like that will happen. They're more incidental. I don't really get on guys too much for like incidental blows as opposed to the ones that are intentional. I think they were more incidental than anything. And, maybe a little bit of part of Lomachenko's kind of growing as a pro in terms of being crafty and just, making it rougher on his opponent and knowing that the ref isn't going to really call it, because he does have a certain degree of privilege being the top-ranked fighter. So I think he got away with it. Crawford got away with it. Top-ranked fighters kind of get away with it when, they're on home turf, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, that's all I got really to say on it. I know your time limited, especially the fact that we ran a bit late as well. So, anything else you want to say about this fight?
No, not about this one in particular. I mean, just Miguel Berchelt, it came out that his hand was injured after the Miura fight, and of course Miura's retired now. What do you call it? Lomachenko versus Jezreel Corrales, if not versus Orlando Salido. Though those are the two opponents I'd like to see him fight next. I mean, to me, there's really not much excuse for him not to be fighting anybody else other than either one of those two guys, simply because of the fact that if you wanna be the boss, you got to pay the cost, and the way that I see it is you got to go through both of those guys in order to truly deserve the pound for pound props that people have already kind of pre-hoisted upon you. Without necessarily having earned them.
Yeah, if he doesn't get Salido, I'm not too fussed about the Berchelt fight, because I think Berchelt will eventually, because he's so big at the weight as well, I think he'll eventually go up to 135 afterwards. Yeah, so that fight can maybe happen in the future. So I just don't really think there's much for him at 30 unless the Salido fight doesn't happen. Just go up, man. I think there's better fights at 35.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, you have the Flanagan Verdejo fight coming up, and if Bob Arum gets his wishes, Verdejo will happen to win that, and then he'll have him versus Lomachenko, and he'll have a very easy kind of handoff towards getting Vasily a title.
Definitely. Should we just skip down to the undercard, talk about Ray and his fight for his green card?
Yeah, Ray Beltran versus Brian Vasquez. I actually really liked this fight. It was really interesting to me because it was competitive all the way through. Brian Vasquez was early on, kind of like how I said, giving Beltran a lot of issues with the speed, the hand speed, the foot speed, the kind of in and out movement, the combinations and everything. It wasn't until I'd say about the third or the fourth where Beltran started to be able to kind of time him and then apply that smart, effective pressure and be able to time those hooks, those counter hooks, and the counter right hands as well. And being able to kind of knock Vasquez back. You could tell that, for the most part, Beltran was able to hurt Vasquez more than Vasquez was able to hurt Beltran. So in a way, it was almost like a game of the more powerful, cleaner shots from Beltran versus the more abundant shots from Vasquez. And so that, that's why it doesn't surprise me that it wound up being I think it was a majority decision. 2 judges had it for Beltran and 1 had it a draw.
Yep.
I had it just slightly for Beltran. I think that it could have very well went the other way, though. There was a lot of close rounds, a lot of kind of swing-ish rounds. Beltran even looked like he was a little bit stunned in the last round. It's a kind of a shame it wasn't a 12-rounder because I think those last couple would have proven to be potentially a difference because Beltran looked a little bit hurt in that last round. He was bleeding. The blood was getting in his eyes, maybe affecting his vision and affecting his ability to be able to brace for those punches that Vasquez was landing. Because Vasquez still was able to kind of carry a certain degree of power and a snap on his punches, even in those later rounds. But all things looking at it though, Vasquez didn't make weight, so Beltran was going to be the only one that could potentially lose his title opportunity at some point in the near future, and he managed to keep it. And I don't think Vasquez did, poorly for himself. I guess maybe it might be time for him to move up again. He actually just recently moved up to 135 after he missed weight when he fought Yeo Thompson at 130. He missed weight for that fight as well, although he won that fight. So maybe we'll see Vasquez at 140. He'll make 140 maybe a little bit richer in terms of name value, considering the fact that 140 will probably be a bit barren fairly soon, depending on what happens with Crawford and Ndongo. And for Beltran, I mean, hey, he if anything, it seems like he may deserve another title opportunity. You know, he's managed to pass all the tests thus far. He hasn't tested dirty lately, and he's been accumulating some pretty solid wins under himself. So there it is.
He hasn't tested dirty lately. We'll see. But yeah,
Yeah.
ESPN were really like going after him. Beltran for me, like he's a good solid boxer, but like putting so much weight into a guy that's kind of on the tail end of his career, I don't really see the point in doing it. You might as well put all that televised action and televised, all the extra kind of juice that they're giving him. Well, sorry, that might be the wrong term of words to use, but that extra limelight they're giving him, give that into someone who's a bit younger and coming up. You know, I like Ray, but he's been popped. Was it once or twice? I think was it twice?
I know he popped for Takehiro Eo, and I think he popped before a fight that he was supposed to have with somebody else. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Humberto Soto.
Yeah.
It was either Soto or John Molina, because that's why the two of them wound up fighting each other. Actually.
Yeah, but
it was one of them.
I thought it was an okay fight. It was like 3:00 in the morning for me. So you know, when it's that late and you've not had a nap, then like two guys kind of, you know, not hurting each other that much. Like you kind of said everything I could say, Nailed. You know, Vasquez was on the back foot. He was kind of those tippy tappy parts. Ray was kind of coming forward, missing quite a bit to the head, and Timothy Bradley on the commentary along with Teddy just saying, you know, the common phrases: go to the body, water in the basement, let some air out the tires, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, he kept kind of headhunting Ray, and Vasquez did kind of like outbox him a bit. You switch it to southpaw, tapping him. I think the commentary said that his corner said maybe hurt his hand in the fourth, fifth round or something like that. So that kind of led him to not throw much conviction with the left hand. But I don't know. I think that's a bit of bullshit, because throughout the fight he was kind of using it quite readily. But saying go up again, Neil, like he's small in stature and he looked fleshy as well. So I think it's more of a thing that he's not training right, or that he's struggling with weight. He is quite a thick set guy, but I don't know, man. Like he's a small dude at 35, so to go to 40, he's gonna be tiny.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like my whole point is that, you know, I'm trying to be realistic insofar as the fighter is concerned. And just like Johan Guzman probably should have been, you know, at 130 his entire career, you know, the motherfucker just couldn't make weight. He couldn't stay away from the buffet table. And I think that Brian Vasquez may be kind of a similar situation.
But yeah, as you said, it could have been either way. It could have been a draw. You know, Vasquez could have nicked it. Beltran could have nicked it. It's just one of those fights. What do you prefer, the come forward dude or the guy that's, you know, just boxing on the back foot? So yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah, that's all I got it for too.
Did you see a televised fight on that undercard as well? Was it Arnold Barboza Jr. versus Jonathan Kachayas? That was
you know what? I haven't gotten a chance to see that one though.
It's if you got it recorded, man, it's worth watching. It was a fun little 8-round. Barboza with a kind of padded record, as Teddy always likes to talk about at the start of the fight, and Chikaris, you know, kind of a guy with a few losses, but he brought it to Barboza, and it was a fun little fight. Both guys got dropped, both guys were getting hurt, and technically it wasn't the most skillful fight, but it's just one of those fights that you don't score it, you just sit back and enjoy. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, we'll do, man.
What should we move to next, Dale? To fight-wise, you know, the Lomachenko card was the kind of biggest of the weekend. I did catch some other boxing as well, but where do you want to go next?
I definitely want to touch on Clarissa Shields before I gotta get out of here. You know, like I've given her a lot of props for pretty much as long as I've, you know, been doing this podcast and then some. You know, she won a gold medal in 2012. Then won another gold medal, and that first gold medal was when she was 17. She won another gold medal in 2016, and you know, we weren't necessarily as impressed with her in the pros as we had been in the amateurs, like when we covered her and the other Olympians last year. But this fight, I think she really came into her own against Nikki Adler. It was for the WBC and the IBF women's super middleweight titles, and she did a very impressive job. She went in there, outboxed Adler, beat her up, bullied her. outpunched her, just did a really solid job. Showed a lot better technique than she had been recently. I think she was a little bit wild, maybe because of the fact that she was anxious to try and show out in front of the crowds in her early fights and trying to score a knockout. But here against Adler, she set everything up really nicely, timed everything really nicely, and took advantage of an opponent that was there to be taken, and she pretty much completely destroyed her. And it looks like they even have the potential next rival ready for her too, in Christina Hammer. She was there ringside. She's a unified champion as well, albeit at middleweight. The unfortunate thing for Shields is the fact that women's boxing in general, but especially at the higher weights, like once you get above welterweight, it tends to be a little bit shallow in terms of the talent pool. So ultimately, it's going to be almost like a one-woman show in a lot of these fights. It's going to be pretty much Shields being the headliner, not unlike the way that it was for Mia St. John, Christy Martin, Layla Ali, and then even Ann Wolfe to a certain degree. Where she's definitely going to be the headliner, the clear favorite, and I definitely think that she deserves to be, because I think just physically speaking, she's going to be able to domineer pretty much any opponent that you put in front of her. But I think even technically, she has definitely managed to sharpen up her craft. She's still very young; she's only 22, so she's still sharpening up even as a growing pro. And so I think kind of the sky's the limit for her. We'll see exactly how far she's able to kind of take the niche of what women's boxing is. For her own sake anyway, because of course there's Katie Taylor and other female fighters that can definitely take it pretty far as well.
Yeah, again, sorry to say it, but I echo everything you said. I didn't really pay attention to 2012 boxing as much as 16, just because the summer of 2012 I was working a bit more and wasn't be able to catch the fight, so I never really seen her perform there. The first time I seen her as an amateur was at Rio, and I said it on the review show we did that out of all the women I saw, she had the most professional style. But I was kind of disappointed when she turned pro. The first two fights especially, I didn't catch the third, and the Adler fight on the weekend was her fourth. But the first two, she was just seemed like she wanted to go there and take her opponent's head off. She was just swinging for the fences. Technique was a bit out the window, and I was really disappointed because she wasn't the same girl that I saw a couple of months earlier. So this fight, as you said, she was a lot better. The straight punching in combination, the left hook was shorter. Adler was fucking hopeless though, man. Like, if she was 16-0, who were the 16 people she fought? They must have been terrible. But yeah,
I mean, I think that kind of goes to what I was talking about with regards to the talent pool. You know what I mean, being relatively shallow, and Adler, it looks like, was able to kind of take advantage of that. And it seems like from the wins that she may have had was just her basically being better conditioned than her opponents. Because remember that one fight I saw of hers, her opponent pretty much just keeled over in the end. So there it is. Shields has a couple of belts, and I think she can potentially be the face of women's boxing at the higher weights, at least from an American perspective.
And as you said, Christina Hammer was there ringside, looking fine as hell.
Oh yeah. She's a looker, definitely.
Just quickly though, she's at middleweight. Do you think they'll meet in the middle? Do you think? Because I think Shields could come down. She does look like she could take a bit of weight off.
Yeah, she actually, I think 2 fights ago against Sabados, she weighed in at 159 and a quarter, or 2 quarters or something like that, or 3 quarters rather. So I'd imagine maybe she could, they could do a catch weight, or I don't know. I'm not really the biggest fan of catch weights. To me, it's like, fight her at her full weight, fight her at full strength. Yeah. That's fine. And this is me saying this to Hammer, fight her at full strength. And if you really got what it takes to beat the woman, you know what I mean? You shouldn't need a catch weight to do it. You should be able to beat her, period, point blank.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people kind of give her criticism, but you forget that she's only 22, and yeah, she kind of says some stupid shit sometimes, and she defended the Durrell uncle and stuff like that, but like, look back at all the shit that, you used to do at 22, and we used to do at 22, and say, like, you're a completely different person as you grow older, man. Yeah. All the life experience makes you different, so, man, just kind of give her a chance, I think.
Yeah, you're not even fully grown, really. Your brain isn't fully developed until you're like 25, 26. So, that goes to show for that, and as well as the fact that, she grew up with them. She grew up with and around the Durrells and all that. So, she's kind of biased in that sense. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where most likely you're going to be taken up for people that are your friends and family that you've grown up with for, decades or years or what have you. So, I mean, I wouldn't blame her for that at all. You know, as far as I'm concerned, the uncle, it's pretty much his own blame, period. And you know, beyond that, I wouldn't really talk shit about anybody else trying to kind of take up for him, because that's kind of what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Any other fights you want to talk about? I did catch the Herrera Soto Cross fight, but I don't know, it was okay. But
Yeah, Herrera actually did pretty good. He outboxed Soto Cross. Soto Cross was missing quite a bit. Herrera kind of did what Brian Vasquez did to Beltran, except even more successfully.
the jab was on point, though.
The commentary was pretty awful for that fight, though. Huh?
The what was awful?
The commentary.
Yeah, what B-Hop and Bernardo Osuna.
I thought they were giving way too much credit to Soto Cross. Just
Yeah,
because
I
like
agree to
they were
that.
saying like, oh, a big right hand, and like it wouldn't even land, or it would like graze like the top of Herrera's head. And, like,
If you want to hear bad commentary, Nikki, go watch the Vijender Singh fight from the weekend. That was some awful commentary, man.
I bet, especially with Vijender Singh, the way he's looked recently.
But yeah,
But
Herrera, man, the jab was on point. The stats afterwards, I know, taken with a grain of salt, but like the jab was on point to the head, to the body, to the chest, man. Yeah, and it was a kind of boxing match until maybe a few moments mid-fight, and especially near the end of the fight where, you know, Herrera was tiring a bit and he was kind of standing his ground a bit, and then Soto had more opportunities to just, you know, let shots off. But overall, I thought Herrera nicked it. But again, it's a bit one of those fights. What do you prefer, the guy coming forward or the guy, being defensive and boxing him on the back foot? So it was okay for him.
yeah, I mean, the main counter I have to that though is like, to me, it's really not supposed to be about what you like. It's supposed to be about what you judge as effective. And in this case, I think that Herrera's counterpunching and kind of defensive movement was more effective than what Soto Cross was doing. Soto Cross was throwing a lot of punches, but he wasn't particularly effective with the punches that he was landing. It was a little too few and far between for the way that I judged it. But yeah, I mean, Herrera did a pretty good job. It looks like he kind of saved himself for, you know, some more, I guess, paydays to, you know, pay for his bar tab or whatever, you know, whatever it is that he likes to engage in extracurricularly. It's kind of a shame because you could still see like the flashes of the old brilliance, but you could tell that, you know, generally speaking, his heart really isn't in the game insofar as being like a serious professional boxer 24/7, 365, which is unfortunate because he's a very talented fighter.
Yep. And yeah, I did watch the Vijender Singh fight. Nothing much to tell, man. His opponent Zulfikar was decent, but he was kind of swinging from the fences from too far out. He was all kind of right hand. He was a southpaw, but he probably is right-handed because everything was coming from that side of the attack. And Singh himself, man, I think he maybe knows might have went towards the end of it, but he looked knacking near the end. Any opportunity he could hold, he was doing it. He's all kind of a counter right hand. He hasn't really got anything else. His jab is kind of poured out. He doesn't really use his hooks. And yeah, it's a bit of a shitty fight, to be honest. It was a bit boring to watch overall. But that was about all I watched over the weekend, I think, Naoto.
Just wanted to give a quick shout though to Michaela Meyer. She managed to make her pro debut. Scored a vicious first round knockout over her opponent. I can't remember her first name, but it was something Figueroa. Looked really good. Looked really sharp. Looked a lot sharper as a pro than she had done at the Olympics. And I kind of mentioned in the chat before. I feel like maybe she's one of those cases where, you know, making 132 pounds with the same day weigh-in may have taken something out of her, because she always looked a bit jittery on her feet in the Olympics, in her Olympic fights. But here, as a pro, she started fast. She looked snappy, powerful. You know, that extra 24 hours to rehydrate, I think, definitely paid dividends for her. And she did. She looked really good, man. She looked like, who knows, maybe we'll be able to have her versus Katie Taylor, you know, cross oceanic fight between those two. I think it'd be fairly interesting. Meyer she looked sharp. She looked good. And, you know, she's a solid fighter, 130 or 135. You know what I mean? She's very tall for 130. She's like 5'10 and a half, I think. So she towers over just about everybody that she's fighting at 130. So she could very easily move up, I'd imagine. But solid win for her, and I think that's gonna do it for me, Cam. I gotta roll out, my man.
No worries, man. Thank you for taking the time. Apologies that I started a bit late.
Yeah, it's all good. We can always adjust and overcome, just like the boxers do in the ring.
You know. Okay.
All right, peace, man.
Thank you, Nicky. Take care. Hopefully Dan might just jump on the show. No, he hasn't. Dan's dropped off as well. Excellent. Ducking again, just like last week. Let me see if I can get him on the line. Dan, stop ducking, man.
Yeah, what's up, Cam?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm in New Mexico.
Oh shit, you get around, boy.
Talking to you, fucking bum.
Come on, bro. I'm your best friend. Like, without me, you ain't got no one else to talk to, bro. Come on.
That may be fair, but I still do have a couple of side pieces that I hit up on the side around 4 in the morning. Like, what up, hey, you up?
You
Or
wanna...
I'll give a little bit of, yo, you don't remember me? It's Ben. And my girl will be like, Ben who? I'm Ben the knee. And then,
She really wants him to bend the knee, doesn't she, man? Come, let's get into
yeah,
it, man. Spoils of War. What episode, Lim? Sorry, spoiler
yeah,
alert. If you watch Game of Thrones and you haven't seen the episode yet, skip a couple minutes of the podcast.
yeah. Honestly, I wish we could just talk about dragons and Game of Thrones for the next 3 hours. I don't really care about the Lomachenko fight all that much, but yeah, it was interesting, Cam, because obviously the HBO was hacked. I think it was HBO India, so they got hacked. I think the scripts up until episode 7, which is of course the last episode of the season, all the manuscripts have been leaked, so everybody knows what's going to happen. And also somehow some of the clips for episode 4 also got released. So I saw this clip of Drogon, obviously Dany's biggest dragon, that's the most powerful, the Mandingo dragon, so to speak, just get clipped, and I thought the dragon died. So like I got so depressed, I refused to watch the episode. But somehow I watched another spoiler clip where Drogon doesn't die, and I was just immediately back on tune, and it was just fucking awesome, man. Just watching the dragon just lay absolute carnage and destroy just people with that with just like the flaming revolver, like the AK-47 of just fire breathing damage and brutality and just death was incredible, man. One of the best things I've seen on TV ever, I think.
Firstly, like, don't get into spoilers, man. Like, you told me about the spoiler and I just completely ignored everything because I thought I'm not gonna let it ruin my my viewing pleasure.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. I tried to avoid it as well, but it just showed up on my YouTube, I think, suggestion just based on my search history, because I'm a real nerd when it comes to Game of Thrones. I watch a bunch of different review shows and some cup podcasts, and some, there's some freaks out there who do like 6-hour recap shows on like a Wednesday night, with people from Europe and the States. But as strange as it may sound, like I really love shit like this, like Game of Thrones and Harry Potter. I never really got into Dungeons and Dragons, but just shit that really brings together from people from all different walks of life. I think is something that's really cool. I mean, it's similar to boxing, but I just think the people are less, I think, passionate and retarded when it comes to sucking certain fighters off and whatnot, like the whole Lomachenko thing, which is like the reason why I kind of don't like when guys like Lomachenko and Triple G fight, is just because it just brings out the full retard in a lot of people. They just can't really appreciate what's being consumed at the moment, and they just got to let other stupid stuff kind of get in the way. But yeah, so there's really not much for me to talk about in terms of Loma. I think Loma did exactly what we all thought he was going to do, which is absolutely wipe the floor with this guy. And say what you want, but Lomachenko was at 126 just three fights ago. So you can say he looked massively bigger than Marriaga, which I do think he was visibly bigger. But at the same time, Marriaga was somebody that a lot of people gave props to. He went to full 12 rounds with Valdez in a really close kind of mini war. He survived against Nicholas Walters, and he didn't win a single round against Lomachenko. So, I mean, give the guy some props, man. I mean, sure he did it. Sure, he fought the lesser man person in that fight, but he did it exactly what we all knew he was capable of doing, and he stopped the guy. Marriaga's never been stopped before either. So, Lomachenko makes these people look like bums, man.
He does indeed. All right, let's get back to Game of Thrones then. What do you think of that face-off between Arya Stark and Brianna Tarthman? She was styling on him, man. She was styling.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna look like when Connor fights Floyd. Connor's gonna look exactly like Arya Stark.
All right, calm down, Link. Calm down. I think the Game of Thrones is getting to you, bro.
His left hand is gonna be the needle, and he's just gonna murk Floyd, or AKA Brienne Tarth, multiple times on that left hand. It was just a great episode overall. I mean, it was short, 15 minutes, I think, which is one of the shortest episodes I think in their run. But my God, was it really dense and compact, and everything was, I think told in a fashion where it needed to be to get the story moving along, and it was just a perfect balance of grand action scenes and smaller, insightful, details of dialogue that really brought, these family members together that we haven't seen together, I think, since season 1.
Yeah.
And my God, dude, Sansa Stark, Sophie Turner, I have such a huge crush on her. She's so fucking pretty. Something about those redheads, man, like just tall redheads. That really gets to me every single time. But she looks really awesome.
Just a perp, bro. All right, let's do some housekeeping.
It was a little bit pervy when I had a crush on her. I think when she was like 15 in season.
Yeah, there's a line, Lim. There's a line for a reason. But
at least it's not as bad as when I had a huge crush on Hermione when she was 11 years old in Harry Potter season 1. So, but I was 11 at the time as well, so it was okay.
Then it's fair game. Let's do some housekeeping, Lim. You ducked the show last week, so let's quickly give your thoughts on how disappointed you were traveling to New York for Broner Garcia, and you could have stayed back and watched John Jones.
Yeah, it was probably one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life. Not only was the fight a complete ass, but I took a friend of mine from college who I thought we were just really close friends for 5 years, like we were like besties. And we had this moment in the subway where she tried to kiss me like at 3 a.m. when I was pissed drunk. So it was probably one of the worst days of my life. I was really, really sad for a couple hours. And just a fight to pull it off was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I mean, we only got there for that fight. We missed the Highland fight, which, was complete ass too. But I don't know. I think I still kind of stand by my original position in that I was really, really banking on AB to I guess be at 100% in terms of what I saw at 130 and 135 when he was making his run at on HBO. Like for me, I thought if he fought the way he did against DeMarco, he would have a chance against Mikey, but he just doesn't let his hands go, and it really is one of the most baffling things I think I can watch. But I do concede, though. I do think Broner, I think ever since he started as a fighter, as a little kid, was never one of those fighters who was able to throw punches amidst his opponent throwing combinations. He's always a guy who's either all in or all out. He can never engage with his opponent while that person is in the middle of a combination. And that's absolutely critical if you're going to land anything meaningful as a counterpuncher, which he was trying to do the entire night. He showed glimpses in the last couple of rounds like he always does, which is so frustrating. So that's the reason why I kind of thought he had a chance. But, obviously Mikey wiped the floor with him. I think I scored 11 rounds to 1 for Mikey. So that's really all that you need to say about that. Yeah. And I guess I was ducking my crow, but I was actually just super hungover that day and I didn't want to call in. But I don't know, man. It's like you guys can't really say anything that's going to bring me down because I took the biggest L that night. I'm the one who went in that fight, who flew 3,000 miles for that shit, and had a super awkward encounter with a female friend at a subway at 3 a.m. So I definitely take the biggest L that weekend.
At least it wasn't like the restaurant subway. Yeah, that would have ruined everything. So at least it was just a traveling subway. But Lim, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, shout out to my girl Michaela Mayer. I mean, I love Chantel, but Michaela's prettier by all stretches of the imagination. I'm still team Chantel, but
is she any good though?
She's better than Chantel.
Is she better than Katie?
No, absolutely not. But she's a dime piece. You know what she looks like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty as fuck.
I've not seen the fight though.
Yeah, no, she's good. She's good. And who's another person? Is it weird that I find Lady Hammer somewhat attractive?
What?
Christina?
No, that's not weird, man. She's hot.
She's fucking hot, dude.
Maybe like the only thing that lets her down is the nose, but she gets punched in the face on a regular basis, so you can kind of, give her a pass for that.
Yeah, what's up with all these super hot female boxers, man?
I don't know, man. Sex sells.
Yeah, but yeah. Other than that,
Just
I don't
going
really
back,
have too much to contribute.
just
Yeah.
going back to like the two fights we had over the weekend. Then two of the fighters we'll pluck for a second and just discuss. If Mikey was to fight Lomachenko sometime soon, as much as I
Yeah.
like, as much as I like Mikey, I just think it's easy work for Lomachenko. You agree
I
or?
don't think it's easy. I I don't know if easy work is the right word, but to me, Mikey just doesn't have enough of a variety of punches to really kind of get to Lomachenko. And people complaining about Loma being sloppy this past weekend, like sure he was sloppy, but that's because he's not a come forward fighter. That's not his MO. You know, he does best when fighters are coming to him.
Yep.
And talk about complete dominance. He made a guy who is usually the aggressor fight completely on his back foot. Marriaga fought like a fucking pussy. That shit really pissed me off, man. Like you're coming to fight for a title moving up. You know, obviously it's not fair game. You're the B side. But he didn't even try to make an account of himself. He just shelled up for the majority of the fight. He would try to land some big right hands that landed on occasion towards the end of the rounds, and that's all he fucking did. It's not that hard to have good defense when you don't throw fucking punches. It's a complete joke, man. So fuck Mariaga. Yeah, he's just as much to blame. Well, no, he's most to blame for the reason why that fight was so fucking boring because he just refused to do anything in that fight. So you know, fuck him. I don't really care where he goes from here. But I just think Lomachenko is one of those guys where if he fights a come forward fighter, he's gonna absolutely wipe the floor with them. And Mikey, the thing that's the reason why I actually do caution that Mikey fight is that Mikey's not really a come forward fighter either. You know, he's somebody who fights I think in mid range and does well counter punching. So I don't know. Will he make Lomachenko kind of forced to come forward? You know, he might. But the thing is, Lomachenko is just so versatile and just so gifted physically. Like, the only way that I can see Mikey winning that fight is just a huge right hand knockout. I don't think he can win by stoppage because he doesn't throw enough, obviously. Even though he threw, I think, 700 punches against Broner. I mean, that's because Broner just didn't throw anything at all. Thing about Lomachenko is that his output is so high. I think it's really, really hard to beat him by decision. So the thing about him too is that he's so good. Like, sure, we all want him to fight other fighters at 130, but I know he's gonna whoop. He's gonna fucking whoop Jezreel Corrales. That's not even. That's just a bygone conclusion for me. So that Burchell fight, yeah, sure, I'd want to see that, but I guess I just have sour grapes because I actually saw that fight. I went to that fight, and Burchell looked like shit against Miura. So I just have a hard time believing he's gonna pose a threat to Lomachenko.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. Regarding Mikey, as many compliments as I give, negative wise, I just think he is probably the best guy, but at being basic. Like he hasn't got many strings to his bow, as you say. He's kind of he's got his main attributes. He does them extremely well, but he's not rounded, man. Like, and I just think. I think Loma would, especially on the back foot, if Mikey's coming to him, I think Loma would just kind of expose all his flaws. I think he doesn't have many, but the few that he does have, I think Loma would expose him.
Yeah, and he also doesn't really throw body punches either. I think his left hook, surprisingly to the body, looks kind of awkward when Mikey throws it. It doesn't have the full force and leverage that his right hand does, a straight right hand down the middle. So I think Lomachenko kind of thrives in close situations and in close parameters. So I think that's something that he can definitely take advantage of. And yeah, Loma too. I mean, Loma slaps a lot. That's one thing I don't like about Lomachenko. He slaps way too much. His hooks. His traditional hooks with both his left and right hand is not very pleasant to look at. He doesn't throw it traditionally or with very good technique. That left hook that he dropped Marriaga with, it's not like a Canelo type of left hook or a Triple G. That's a better example. A Triple G left hook where he gets full extension on it. He just kind of pushes it, and it's something that I don't like looking at. But that's kind of the compromises you have to make when you focus so much on your footwork and you being so light on your feet. You really can't fully plan on your punches like Triple G does. So, there's a give and take with anything, but I don't think he's going to hurt Mikey at all in that fight. He's just going to frustrate him to a decision.
Agreed.
So yeah,
News.
man. I honestly like. I know it sounds like I'm kind of sucking Lomachenko off right now, but I've actually haven't been as content watching his fights as I did early. And I think the reason why is that when he fought Gary Russell and those guys, I saw so much potential, and obviously that potential has been realized now, and he is a great fucking fighter. Like I don't mind if you put him pound for pound number one, because pound for pound, in my opinion, is either based on resume or it's either based on how great you think a fighter is, almost regardless of his resume. So what you think his potential is, and skill wise, I think I'm not going to criticize somebody for thinking Lomachenko skill wise is the best fighter in the fucking world. I actually think that's pretty plausible and obvious in my opinion. But the thing about him is I like people who finish fights and not by accumulation of damage like he did against Marriaga. I think Marriaga pussed out too. So that's not really like my favorite type of fighter. So I think with Lomachenko, I admire him, and I don't mind watching his fights the day after, but it's not like somebody like Canelo or Triple G, who I like to watch just because they really finish fights. So
Yeah, just going back to what you were saying though, with Lomachenko, for me, the issue as he's kind of progressing his career is just lack of those bigger names. You know, going forward, like Salido, your second fight, Gary Russell Jr., your third fight. And since then, even though the opposition have been okay, like I want him to fight the top names. But the issue is, from their side anyway, it comes across that they're offering guys deals, but they're not taking them. Like the issue that they had, with the Axeman is people are scared to kind of go in with him because they get embarrassed, and they like he's only I think he's returning Nicholas Walters on the Indongo Crawford card, and it's been a while since he's been out, and those type of defeats where the guy just takes your soul and you end up quitting, and I think a lot of boxers are worried about it. I think only reason Marriaga took the fight is because he thought, well, it's a decent check and he's kind of got nothing to lose, but he came and he just bitched out and he was just so negative, and for me, I think it's going to be difficult matching him with anyone decent. I don't think we're going to have those big fights unless there's a pay-per-view or contracts can be signed. With Mikey, the issue is Bob. Will Bob really want to give Mikey the opportunity to fight one of his fighters? I don't know.
and the thing with that too, Cam, is that Mikey's acting like an A side. And again, I know I can't speak because I'm biased here, but the reason why I've kind of fallen out of love with Mikey is that his team are hyping him up to be some kind of like, almost like a quasi Canelo Manny type of level, A side negotiator or dictator. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like that Broner fight. The only reason why you headlined that fight was because of Broner. Before that shit, you were on the undercard of Santa Cruz Frampton rematch. Is like, you're not a fucking big name, man. And I'm not saying Lomachenko is a big name either, because that guy has issues selling out crowds that only hold 4,000 people. But the difference is that he's backed by a major promoter who treat him like the A side because of his talent level. So it's like 50-50, but if you pointed a gun to my head, I would think Lomachenko's the A side right now, just because he has the backing of HBO. Actually, I don't know if he does have the backing of HBO anymore with the ESPN situation, but he definitely has the backing of obviously Bob Arum, which I think counts more for than Mikey, who obviously doesn't even have a promoter. So that fight I don't think is going to be made, probably ever. Honestly, I don't see that fight getting made. Honestly.
Yeah, I think Loma would maybe have to part ways with Bob for that to kind of go ahead. But money does talk. If it's pay-per-view and Bob's making a good check, I guess it could be made. There's other fights that we thought never would happen. So
If that fight goes to pay-per-view, that probably does 150,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, it's a fight for the hardcores, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean they both are. I mean on a national level, nobody knows who Lomachenko is, and nobody knows who Mikey is. At least with Ward, and Kovalev, Ward has kind of been a staple in just American, I guess, American people's minds, just because he is a former Olympian. So there's more of a cell that you could draw. But with these two, it's more of an unknown variable. So yeah, man, there's just too many obstacles in my opinion for this fight to get made. And the thing with Jairzinho Corrales versus Berchella too. they're both Golden Boy fighters. So there is absolutely no reason that Eric Gomez or Oscar De La Hoya would pit either one of those guys against Lomachenko when you could just pit them against together, have them unify, and whoever wins that belt then fight Lomachenko for a higher purse.
Yeah, that that would be the sensible thing for Golden Boy to do if they want to protect their investments.
Sure, but who knows, man? Maybe I can dice some of the coke that Oscar does in Vegas and put some roofies in it or some crazy shit, man. Or I could just tell him, like, look, bro, I'll give you 4 training hookers, for X amount of days if you do this fight versus that fight. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
You'd shake
trying
your
to think
hands.
of.
You'd shake your hands for that deal.
Yeah.
All right, Lim. 2 other things I want to get into. Won't take long. It was a week of retirements, Lim. Vladimir Klitschko retired, when Manuel Marquez retired, and Timothy Bradley, who we were talking about after the show last week, he also decided to retire, man. I think most people would consider them to all be first ballot Hall of Famers. Would you agree? You're going to shout at Bradley, aren't you? You're going to shout at Bradley, aren't you?
I do, because I think Bradley is he's a good, solid fighter, but he never really did much for me, honestly. And the thing is, that's partially my fault. I think my opinion probably is less popular, just because I think I wasn't really too privy of his talent level at 140. So the majority of what I'm judging or basing this off of is what he did at welterweight. So his welterweight run was fine. That Marquez victory is one that I will never tarnish. That's by far a great victory. I don't care how old Marquez was. Marquez was just coming off of the Pacquiao knockout, and he still had Memo Heredia, so he's still probably juiced up, and he beat him pretty decisively. So that's one thing that I have to give him full props for. But other than that, man, honestly, I really don't know much about him. I know he fought Junior Witter. I don't know how good Witter was at that time. His win against Devin, I also give him props for, just because Devin was a highly touted prospect at that time, undefeated. But it's really nothing that I really write home about. It's not like I don't view Tim Bradley as a legend. I just consider him a very good fighter, and that's it.
I won't consider him a legend, but if you look past over his career, as you say, he came over to the UK, beat Junior Witter in Nottingham. After that, he defended his title. Devin Alexander, he was the first person to beat Devin. He beat Nate Campbell. Kendall Holt at the time had a few losses, but it was a still decent win. First person to beat Lamont Peterson. First person to beat Luis Carlos Abreu. Yeah, man. After maybe the Pacquiao first fight, when he took a lot of stick, he went into the Provodnikov fight, which was a great fight. Shown a lot of heart. I know, like, he got hurt, dropped, and all that, but it was a great fight to watch. As you said, the Marquez win, but the last couple of years he has kind of just been floating about, really, just kind of recycling all the old top-ranked fighters. So he had that really weird fight with Diego Chavez. Then he fought Jesse Vargas and got hurt at the end, and there was all that controversy. Brandon Rios was shot, and then the third Pacquiao fight, which was, even the second one was really unnecessary, but yeah, the third one, and he decided to hang it up. But I think the real reason, Lim, don't know if you agree, but I think he just fed up with Teddy Atlas, man. So instead of like parting ways, he just thinks, I'll just retire, man. Get an easy gig doing commentary. What do you think? Is he just fed up of hearing water in the basement?
The only issue is that he might be the worst commentator out right now. He's fucking terrible.
That's a bit hard. I don't think he's terrible. Like on other broadcasts, I think he's been quite good. But working with Teddy Atlas must be hard, man, because you can't get away. You can't get a word in either way. He just dominates the conversation. You talk and he cuts you off and just gives you a bullshit fucking analogy that he's used 3 times already in this fight, and he used it twice in the undercard fight. It's just, I like Teddy a lot, but he is hard work.
The issue is that he doesn't. like I don't know. I listened to the Lomachenko, and obviously when he did the was it the Manny Vargas card, and he doesn't add anything technical at all, and that's kind of his whole point. And then I don't know, man. You're dating the wrong guy. I've always been kind of a Bradley hater, and one of the most one of the most just head scratching things for me is how the fuck did he fight Manny Pacquiao 3 times? Like, what the fuck was that all about?
That's more Bob having no one in the stable, really. That's what more that
No,
was.
I understand that. I'm not blaming Tim. I'm just he's associated with that. Like that to me is just like head scratching shit. Like how the fuck did shit like that happen? And I don't know. Maybe he does get inducted into the Hall of Fame, but I think most people are just going to remember him as a guy who robbed Manny Pacquiao and got his ass whooped 2 times later. So fuck it. Call me bitter, but I don't really give a fuck about Tim Bradley, man. And the one fight that he was entertaining in, I mean, he almost got I mean, he did get the shit beaten out of him, but he got hurt extremely badly. And that's probably one of the reasons why he's retiring is that, ever since that fight, I don't think he was, as good as he was. And I'm talking, of course, about the Ruzon fight. So he was never entertaining to me, man. He was always just one of those guys who was a good boxer, but had absolutely no power. And there's nothing about him that interested me, unfortunately.
All right, let's move on to Vlad. Last couple of months, he's just been annoying everyone, whether he wants to fight Josh or not, whether he's gonna fight Josh or not, and finally decided to hang her up. But overall, man, like great career. The run he had as a unified champion, he would have been undisputed if his brother didn't have the green belt. But he had, those stumbles on the way in his career, Ross Purity and Corey Sanders and Lamar Brewster, but not always the most pleasing style to watch, the kind of punch and hold and, put your weight on your opponent. But overall, man, look back, he had a great dominance in the heavyweight division and, he should be very proud of what he achieved.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, Cam. I didn't watch the heavyweight because of Klitschko, actually. I'm talking about a fighting style I hated. I hated his style even more than Timothy Bradley. So
plus you're only 15, so you probably missed those fights anyway. So
no, but even then, I am 15 years old, but even then, I hated watching his fights. I really did. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, and I can't really criticize him because if you have those advantages, obviously use them, but that doesn't mean I have to enjoy him as a fight fan.
Yep. Are you going to say anything positive about Juan Marquez or no?
Of course I am, man. I'm not a fucking idiotic packtard. I really love Marquez. I love his fighting style. I think he's the definition of a guy who is obviously technical, but also extremely fun to watch just because he is so offensively gifted in his counterpunching abilities. And he does everything textbook. There's really not anything about him that he does poorly. He's like a Mikey if Mikey had more versatility and was just more eye pleasing, and there really isn't a bad thing I can say about Marquez. I wish he retired a lot sooner, though. I mean, talk about fucking the bullshitness and the buffoonery. It's like, dude, make up your fucking mind and stop playing and dicking around, man. Like, he should have just retired after or I think I'm not quite sure what the timeline was after the Manny Pacquiao knockout, but I think he did his own career injustice by kind of just hanging and floating around for 2-3 years. And now, obviously, everyone still remembers the Manny Pacquiao knockout, but it's not as fresh as it would have been. I think he would have retired a lot sooner. And I fucking hate that. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, if you're not going to fight anyone, just get the fuck on and then leave. But in terms of his fighting career, man, you can go through his resume, which is just so packed and just full of so many good names. For me, the first Juan Diaz fight, that's a fight that people forget a lot of times. But that was a classic battle in Houston, Texas, when Juan Diaz was considered an up-and-coming legit prospect before his flaws were exposed. Juan Diaz was like a Broner type of level talent when he first stepped in the ring with a more aging Marquez, and just Marquez just put it on his ass. So there's just so many epic kind of, dual fights, trilogies, you can go down and on the list, and there really isn't too much you can say poorly about Marquez. I do think he juiced when he fought Manny in the fourth fight, and that's not me being salty. I do think he took steroids in that fight, but at the same time, I've always been somebody who thinks that steroids are one thing, but that perfectly placed punch would have probably knocked Pacquiao out regardless. So I'm not going to say too many negative things about Marquez, man. He's one of my favorites to watch, and in my opinion, one of the best Mexican fighters of all time.
Yeah. Timeline wise, the fourth fight with Pacquiao, the knockout victory, and after that was a Tim Bradley fight, and then after that was the Alvarado fight in 2014. But yeah, you're totally right. I criticized Vlad just then to kind of like make up your mind and if you're gonna fight or not fight. But Marquez has done that for the last 3.5 years. Always talking about someone he's looking at to fight, catch weights with Cotto, blah blah blah. Like just you're old. You had a great career, man. Just hang it up, man. Why mess people around for so many years? But yeah, great fighter. And definitely a first ballot Hall of Fame, even if Lim doesn't think Timmy's going to be a first ballot, but I think he will. But
It's more about the boxing Hall of Fame more than anything. I mean, come on, Sylvester Stallone is in our fucking boxing Hall of Fame for crying out loud. So
come on, bro, you're too old. You're too young for Rocky, man. That's why you're not a Rocky kid like we were Rocky kids. That's why.
He's a fucking actor.
I know. I'm just winding you up.
It's close, man. Anyways,
I'm winding you up. All right,
nah,
one last thing before you can go, Lim. I know you're part Scottish now these days. So, what do you think about the fight that we matched up today, Crawler versus Burns?
Cool.
That's all you have to say.
Is that a good? Is it really like? I know it's a competitive fight, but that doesn't mean it's a good fight. I mean, do you think it's a good fight?
Nah, both guys are kind of at the end of their career, so it's a bit.
Yeah, it'll be fun for you guys, and I'm sorry to our UK listeners for sounding like such a salty American snob, but I would, if I were you guys, I would be hyped because I've seen firsthand how great the crowds are, so I would love it from that standpoint. But I'm also very objectively critical, I think, when it comes to judging fights for what they are, and Ricky Burns is obviously way past his prime, and I've seen Crawl only twice against Linares, and he's shit. So, fuck it.
Yeah. The problem is, I think casual fans will like it because it's England versus Scotland, and both guys are kind of well known. But
yeah,
from the reaction I've seen on my timeline on Twitter, like people are hating this fight. People are really shitting on it. And Eddie Hearn's funny, man. He'll make an announcement like he'll put a tweet out tomorrow, big announcement, massive fight. And then he'll drop something like this, and people are still waiting for a massive announcement because this wasn't massive to most people. But yeah,
the reason why he can pull that shit off is because he's cool, and he actually takes the time to speak with his fans, even though he is a dick and a troll a lot of times. Like the video that he did impersonating like an American guy when he made fun of Deontay, like it's shit like that Arum or De La Hoya or some of these other guys would never do. So he has that kind of rapport with his fans, and that's why I think he has a longer leash, so to speak, than a lot of these other promoters.
Yeah. And that's about it, Lim. Not much boxing next week. So, anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess just for final thoughts, man, it was probably one of my favorite Game of Thrones episodes. I think next week is going to be very, very interesting and exciting as well. I think Drogon is going to meet Jon Snow for the first time, and if you guys know anything about Jon Snow's parentage, which was revealed last season, he might have a little bit of Targaryen DNA inside of him. So that initial interaction with Drogon is going to be quite telling, and who knows, maybe Jon and Dany end up hooking up. That would be quite an incestuous love affair, obviously with Dany being Jon's aunt, but who knows? Those are my closing thoughts.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you to all the people in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We may not be back next week because, like I said, not much to talk about, but we'll see. We'll see if we might do a special show if Chemo's up for it.
This is a 1 hour show, right, Blood?
I think it's just touched about 1 hour, yeah.
Oh my god. And that's with 10 minutes of Game of Thrones bullshit. So it's really 50 minutes.
Boxing's quiet in August, Lim. That's like, people on the summer holidays and shit. Everything goes dead.
Yeah. When is the cruiserweight matchups? The tournament.
I think obviously they spread apart, but I think they start in September and then some fights in October. I think Groves is October 14th. I think Smith is sometime in September, but the date escapes me right now.
I see. Okay. Cool, bro. Good show, man. Definitely one of the best shows we've done in quite some time. So, shout out, bro.
Thank you, Lim. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically burn you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
It feels great. Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.